Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. Games gone, games to come, football news, everything in between. How the season's going. It's drawing to an end, it's drawing to a close. What are those playoff positions starting to look like? Everything you could possibly want, all here in the football podcast. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Obviously the biggest one, the big one, share the podcast around. If you've got a football fan in your life, send them this podcast. They will love it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on in. And after a week's reprieve from me for all of you lot, unfortunately, I am back, and I am here to retake the reins after the ship was very, very well steered by my co-hosts last week in my absence. So first things first. Thanks very much, gents, for taking the mantle last week to do the podcast. And how are we this week?
Slightly better.
Yeah. Dealing with house issues, it's just,
Oh no. Well, I'll tell you what, for the next undisclosed amount of time, we'll try and make it so you don't have to worry about the house. All I have to worry about is the fact that football's shit. So we'll just dive straight in on that, shall we? So we'll open with the Easter fixtures that started on Good Friday with Middlesbrough versus Plymouth Argyle. I was unable to watch this as I was on the way back from my jollies, and then we had to, of course, do the big shop. So, yeah, not ideal, but I did listen to it in the car, and well, we'll get to it. So, from what I've seen from the highlights, the game opened quite evenly, as seems to be the case with most Borough games at the moment. Plymouth had a couple of chances, Borough had a couple of chances. Plymouth really should have taken the lead. Well, I say really should have taken the lead. They had the first chance of note when Barley Mumba had a shot from the edge of the box, took a flick off one of the Borough defenders. I think it was Azaz that was getting back. It kind of looped over the keeper as he was scrambling back, but it landed on the roof of the net rather than inside. That was a bit of a warning shot for the Borough, and they took heed as on 12 minutes they opened the scoring. Nice little pass and move section of play in the middle of the park between Morris and Hackney. Released the ball to Dykesdale on the right hand side. His little slide rule pass released Conway into the box. He chipped it over the keeper. Looked all day like it was going in. Hit the post, but the Plymouth defenders were going the wrong way. Weren't able to sort of change their positioning. And Finn Azaz, who was the right man, Johnny on the spot, as it were, just tapped in from 2 yards out to make it 1-0. However, Plymouth weren't behind for long, because on the 17th minute, they equalised through Bundu with a goal which I believe was his first since joining the club, because why wouldn't it be? He's playing against one of our teams. Just one of those sort of scenarios where the team's dicking around with it at the back. Johnny Howson tried to play the ball to Aidan Morris, who wasn't really looking, wasn't really paying attention. Bundu basically picked his pocket. Morris, rather than trying to get back in, then decided to hit the deck as if he'd been shot. The ref obviously wasn't going to give a free kick, so wave play on. Bundu took a touch, and then to say he'd not scored yet, he bent that one in the far corner pretty well to make it 1-1. They really should have taken the lead after that, as again a hopeful punt upfield by one of the Plymouth defenders managed to find Hardy through pretty much clean. Um, just no composure whatsoever. Just shot straight at Travers. Um, yeah, not great. So that got us through to half time. Into the second half, Morgan Whittaker almost scored his first in Borough colours, of course, as he was playing against the team that Borough signed him from. He had a sort of a whipped effort from the edge of the box that the Plymouth keeper managed to palm away. Plymouth then should have taken the lead when Giabi's cutback found Hardy on the penalty spot. Again, very much a lack of composure as he put it into row Z from about 12 yards out. Not the best of days for Mr. Hardy. Borough then had a shout for a penalty turned down when Whittaker appeared to sort of make his way into the box and get clipped. Ref was having none of it though. But their persistence did pay off, as in the 93rd they were awarded a penalty. And if I was a Plymouth fan that had set off from the South Coast at about 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure I got down to Middlesbrough, up to Middlesbrough in time for the game, I would be pissed off that this penalty was given against my team. Conway was pushed in the back by Joe Edwards, and when you see it back, he basically kind of scratches him in the middle of the back where they must have had an itch, and obviously Conway feels this and throws himself to the ground as if he'd just been mounted by Sasquatch. Very soft, very dubious. I don't know if the Whittaker one was playing in the ref's mind potentially, but he pointed to the spot. Conway got himself up, dusted himself down, did that little stuttery run up where the keeper sort of goes for it, completely goes the wrong way. Conway just rolls it to the side, makes it 2-1 to the Borough, keeps them very much in the playoff race. So this put them, I believe, 3 points behind Coventry with 3 games left to play. So they would have a chance to close the gap even further on Easter Monday. We'll come to that in a short while. So, from what I garnered from listening back to the podcast last week, I have the predictions in front of me here. So, we all get points as we all had a Borough win. Andy had gone 2-0 with Azaz and Iheanacho to score, so gets 1 bonus point for a goal scorer there. Stu had 2-0 with Conway and Bergzorg, so gets a bonus point there. I had 3-1 with Conway, Azaz, and Whittaker. So if you got that penalty, so close. And some sort of strange manner, I also had Bundu to score for Norwich. So Plymouth. Who knows? So I managed to back
go for
myself.
Norwich.
Well, yeah, exactly. We'll get to that later on. I managed to bag myself 4 points for that one. However, Matt gets himself 3 points because he had a 2-1 Middlesbrough win. So he gets 2 points for the correct score there. He also had a Conway goal in his predictions. So 3 points for Matt, 2 points apiece for Stu and Andy, but I did bag 4 points in that game. So lovely, lovely. Our second game of Good Friday, not as successful. Would it be easy to say that, Mr. Woodmansey, as Swansea City took on Hull?
Yeah. Well, Hull made just the 5.5 hour journey to South Wales. Hosts were in good form going into this as well, having won the last 3 in a row under the interim boss, Alan Sheehan. Now, I had to read that twice to make sure it didn't say Alan Shearer, because I thought that, 1, what the hell is he doing there? And 2, perfect name for a manager of a Welsh team.
Right. This is where I thought you were going with it. And I was like, you can't say that.
Oh, no,
But
I
you didn't
absolutely
say
did.
it. But fine. Did you say bar? No, I actually did.
No, you said that. I didn't say that.
Well,
Um,
carry on.
well, yeah, they'd won 3 in a row, and annoyingly, after 5.5 hours there and 5.5 hours back for Hull City, uh, unfortunately, Swansea did make it 4 wins in a row, thanks to a very dodgy penalty. It seems to be the podcast of penalties so far, but we'll get to all of this. Ruben Sellers had to replace Sean McLaughlin on 36 minutes, not because he was injured, he was clearly angry and Hulk smashing the shit out of everything. So he was heading for a second yellow card early on in the game. That was mainly thanks to pressure from the home side. But for all their possession, nothing really happened in the first half other than the yellow card. Um, the penalty was given and scored in the 51st minute, but it was given for a handball by John Egan. Don't know if you've seen any of this. The replays clearly show it hit him in the face. I know he's an ugly bastard, but nobody's getting their hand mixed up with their face. It was just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, and then to make it worse, Lincoln then went down in the area for Hull, and we weren't allowed a penalty, even though that was definitely a foul. So and just to top off a stellar afternoon in South Wales, Matt Crooks played half an hour for us. That wasn't me saying how happy I am that he's come back and he's in the side. He got 2 yellow cards within that half an hour and subsequently had to miss a game. Yeah, the point's staying in South Wales, unfortunately. At the time, leaving Hull 2 points above the relegation zone with 3 games to play and just beginning to lose the grip on that old paddle as they drift up Shit Creek.
Phrasing, I mean, it's up there. It's some of the best I've ever heard. Yes, not ideal would be the best way to say that, and also not ideal from the fact that if Hull could have managed to get a goal, we'd have each had 2 points nailed on, as incredibly, as discovered from the podcast this week, even though two of us weren't even here, we all had the same prediction. We all went for a 1-1 draw. What's more impressive though is that there was only one repeat of a goal scorer in those predictions. Yeah, none of us went for Vipotnik as the goal scorer for Swansea. Sadly, I went with Ronald, as I'm apparently told it's now pronounced. Clearly Ronald, but whatever. I went with Ronald and Palmer. Stu went with Cullen and Joao Pedro. Matt went with O'Brien and Joao Pedro. Andy had gone with Darling and Crooks.
Well, he did feature at least at some point.
Technically, does that deserve minus points?
Oh, can't say that when he's not here.
I'm going to say he's not here to defend himself. No, we'll just stick with the normal format. That just gets 0 points across the board, sadly. So Good Friday done, dusted. We move on to, I almost called it Good Monday then, but no, Easter Monday. Easter Monday, and we stay with Mr. Woodmansey as we see Hull City looking for redemption against Preston North End. And was this redemption for a Boxing Day defeat that you had to witness in person, no less?
Well, I must admit, when usually a couple of days before, the boys will be like, "Who's the game against next when we go to the stadium next?" And when I told them it was Preston, I wasn't exactly greeted with the usual enthusiasm, shall we say. We needed to win, and thankfully did, but not in a very easy fashion. Hull went behind on 34 minutes, didn't clear a corner. It ricocheted from a Preston shot off 2 different players and then pretty much stopped dead just outside the 6-yard box, dropping very kindly. Gibson couldn't really miss. Pando was coming out towards the ball and he had the foresight to just look up and side foot it past him. So it's just disappointing from a whole perspective in terms of the defending, because I don't really know what you can do about the ricochet, but they definitely could have got to the first attempt, which would have made things a little bit easier. I think what made it worse as well was that the corner that they scored from was headed behind by Sean McLaughlin, but he was under no pressure. Nobody gave him a shout. That he had all the time in the world, and he just knocked it behind. And then, of course, the goal comes. However, it seemed to fire him up a little bit. And I'm not talking in the terms of to get like subbed off because he goes on a rampage again. He actually, from that point onwards, I thought had a really good game. But the best chance in the first half actually fell to Louis Coyle. Ricocheted shot at the other end of the pitch and looped high and was dropping probably about 21, 22 yards out. And he just absolutely smashed it on the volley. It did that lovely little loop up and down, but the keeper, unfortunately for us, was equal to it. Looked a great save, to be fair, but half time we were looking at another defeat, and with the results around us, Derby winning, etc., etc., not great. Second half, completely different story. Hull managed to actually take the points, and it was via 2 penalties. So the first of which, on 50 minutes, basically Joe Gelhardt was trying to remove his own face from the front of his head by sticking it on the boot of a defender. The referee saw that as a high foot. I mean, in fairness to the lad, he's kind of short, so it was a little bit harsh maybe on the defender. But we could just gloss over the fact that Sean McLaughlin was forearmed to the ground seconds before that had happened. So he could have really given it for either of those 2 challenges. But officially, it was the boot to the face. Joe Gelhardt himself stepped up, converted to the bottom left. The keeper managed to get a hand on it, but thankfully it was really rainy and he was clearly trying to use tissues on his glove to, like, it just, off it went. Then the next one, McLaughlin, again, still having an absolute game, had a shot from the edge of the box. It was a lovely move, actually, down the left-hand side. He managed to get himself into some space on the edge of the box. Ball played back to him. The shot was parried by the keeper, and with the keeper on the ground, that set off a little bit of a foot race between Kyle Joseph and Thordarson. Kyle Joseph got there first, and Thordarson just dragged him backwards by the collar of his shirt to the ground. Absolutely ridiculous because it was starting to go out wide, and probably they would have dealt with it. Obviously, I'm not disappointed. The referee saw him get basically horse collared down, and penalty number 2. I always find it weird when you get 2 penalties in a game because obviously 1 it doesn't happen very often anyway, but 2 when it's the same guy that then steps up, especially when the first one has either been missed or wasn't convincing because the keeper got his hand to it last time. Yeah, he just put it in the opposite corner. Keeper went the same way as he'd done in the first one, so goal, Gelhardt, second goal, 2 penalties. It's safe to say that the Preston manager, Paul Heckingbottom, wasn't a happy man. Not necessarily because of the second penalty, but particularly because of the first. He was booked on the sidelines during the second half. When the final whistle came out, he then stomped onto the pitch. The only person he spoke to was the referee for all of 10 seconds, if that, before he then stomped back off the pitch, being waved with a red card. So he off he goes. So Hull win, pick up the points. Annoyingly, again, like I said, the teams around all won, which kind of makes them points even more important. 2 outside the drop zone again, I believe. 2 games to play. One of the teams that we have to play this coming weekend, which we'll get to, is Derby. And last game of the season is just a short trip to Portsmouth away, who are also at that end of the table too. So not exactly ideal because I'd rather be playing teams that are already on their jollies, if I'm honest. But it does put up a bit of a in and win situation this weekend because basically beat Derby, job's done. Draw with Derby, job's kind of done because of goal difference. So it'd be interesting to see if he goes with a don't lose approach, which means we definitely will, or if he actually lets them go for it like they did in the second half on Monday. So we'll see. But yeah, a little bit more positive at least.
Yes. When you were saying the thing about Paul Heckingbottom there, all I was thinking was when he stormed onto the pitch with his face like a slapped ass.
No, that's just his
Did
normal
he?
face ball. Have you seen him
Well,
before?
well, yeah. Well, yeah, that is true. I didn't know if he just sort of resorted back to a couple of years ago and he was just looking for like Jed Spence to try and slap him out of it.
Yeah.
It was straight out of the Chris Wilder school of referee speeches.
Oh, of course. Captain Charisma himself. Captain Toys out of the pram, like twat. Anyway, so predictions wise, it's another one where we all get points as everyone had a Hull City win. So, cha-ching. Stu had 1-0 with Puerta to score the goal, so just gets the 1 point for the correct result. I had 2-0. I had Joao Pedro and Crooks. The less said about that, the better. Obviously, never had a chance to score in this one, as he was too busy, picking the opponent's teeth off the floor or something like that. Well, we'll carry on. Andy had 2-0 with Crooks and Gelhardt. So that's 2 points for Mr. Cook. But he's done it again, Mr. Matt Moore. 2-1. 2 points. Also had Crooks as one of the goal scorers, along with Kamara and Kesler Hayden as the Preston goal scorer there. So, 3 games down. So far, 2 positive results, 1 negative result. Can we make it 3 for 3? Well, certainly 2 for 2 in my book. When Sheffield Wednesday took on Middlesbrough on what will now be known as Bad Monday. And it all started so well from a Borough perspective as they took the lead on the 11th minute. And for the second game running, Finn Azaz was Johnny on the spot to make it 1-0. Hayden Hackney ended up with the ball on the edge of the box, played a lovely little sort of through ball, like dissecting the defenders. Azaz made the run around the outside of the defender, took a touch, and then just clipped it over the keeper. It was a very nice finish, to be fair. A good goal. And in keeping with the theme, for what is the 4th game in a row involving our teams with a penalty decision. And it was Borough had the chance to make it 2-0. Hayden Hackney was bundled over in the box. Now that one definitely was a push. The guy that the Wednesday defender was just trying to get back in, never really caught pace of the run. Little push in the back, little tangle of legs. Hackney went down. Ref points to the spot. Once again, Tommy Conway picks up the ball. Where his technique worked on Friday against Plymouth, it didn't work this time as the keeper read his little stuttery run up and obviously could work out which side he was going. And as soon as he did that, can't really get any pace into the shot. So if the keeper guesses right, I'd say probably about 9 out of 10 times he'll save it. And sadly for Borough, that was the case. He pushed the rebound straight back into play. Conway had another shot, which was saved again. Came back out to Azaz, who tried a shot and it just blocked. And the Wednesday managed to get the ball out. So bad in the fact that Borough did not make it 2-0. Would they be made to pay for it later on? Oh, you bet your sweet ass they would. Windass had a chance to equalise before half time. Little sort of clip ball to the back post. He absolutely smashed it, but it went past the post. Marcus Fours drew a good save from the Wednesday keeper to keep it at 1-0, and that's how we got into half time. Wednesday seemed to sort of be buoyed by that penalty miss, and they certainly started the second half very much on the front foot. And they got their deserved equaliser on the 54th minute. The ball was clipped in, and Michael Smith, his header hit the post. Wednesday were able to recycle the ball, and it came out to the sort of the edge of the box, and someone clipped it in towards the back post where Windass managed to get free and just bundled it in from about 2 yards out. So that made it 1-1. And then Wednesday kept pushing, and they actually eventually got the winner in the 89th minute. Patterson was released down the right-hand side of the box, Now, he played a ball across, like just a square ball, straight across the 6-yard box. Watching it back, I don't understand what Rad Vandenberg's doing, because he can quite comfortably just go to the ball and just hump it either straight into touch, give away a corner, give away a throw in. If he's even composed, he can take a touch, turn, and just whack it upfield. He slides in to try. I don't like just even from a technique perspective. If you're defending a ball that's going across from the right hand side, would you slide in the direction the ball's travelling? No, you would slide against the direction of the ball and clear away from yourself, surely. So he's turned the way the ball's travelling, and I don't really know what he's trying to do. I don't know if he's trying to sort of control it and stand up in one sweep or what, but needless to say, he fucked it up. I've even got in my notes. For some reason, he slid to try and control the ball, and just twatting it into touch would have been a better course of action. So he's slid to try and control it. He's balls that up. There's a bit of a melee that sort of happens. Wednesday players get to the ball first. It pinging around in the box. I think it's the keeper who tries to spoon it back out of the danger area. I think he spoons it onto Masaba, who bundled it home from about a yard out and made it 2-1. Just a calamity in the highest regard. And the worst thing was that wasn't it. Borough had a chance to equalise right at the death. Little ball played over the top, looked like it was being cut out. Again, no danger from a Wednesday perspective. I don't know if it's hit their guy or he's tried to clear it and it's hit someone else, but it's looped over and Bergzorg's clear in the box. He again doesn't really take it with any sort of zealous. I don't know. He just, rather than just striking normally, he almost sort of like tries to jump and hit the ball in one go. Just baffling. The ball rebounds to Conway, who's on about the penalty spot. It just needs to hit the target. He puts too much on it. It hits the bar, comes down, bounces on the goal line, and bounces away. Just one of those ones where it's just like such fine margins. And if they end up missing the playoff by a point at the end of the season, it's like, just one of those games where
can vouch for what happens to a team possibly when you miss the playoffs by a point, and then next season everything shit.
Do they have goal line do they have the automated goal line technology in the championship? Because
they do. I don't know if it's at every ground, but it's certainly at enough grounds where Wednesday is one of the grounds that it has. And they showed the replay back, and it was nowhere near. It was miles.
It looked miles over when I watched it.
It did. When you watch it back, and they sort of they actually on the Sky Sports coverage, they actually showed the goal decisions replays and stuff like that. And when it bounces down and it's like, ooh, has all the ball gone across the line? Well, it's that, but on the outside of the goal. So it's like, has any of the ball even gone in the goal rather than across the line on this one? So yeah, it was never up to debate, and I'm pretty sure the refs wear those watches that sort of buzz if the ball's off the line. So the ref never indicated anything. Quite rightly so, as it was nowhere near going over the line. So yeah, Wednesday ran out 2-1 winners. An even more disappointing defeat when you consider that both Bristol City and Coventry also lost. So had Borough, if they managed to hold on to the win, they'd go into the last two games of the season knowing that it was more so in their own hands, in that they could afford to draw against Coventry and potentially still be in the playoffs. They now know that to be absolutely sure of being in the playoffs, they need to win their last two games. The last game of the season is against Coventry, so as long as they can win on Saturday against Norwich, they know that no matter what happens in the Coventry-Luton game earlier in the day, it will go to the last game of the season. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Predictions-wise, no one had a Sheffield Wednesday win, so there's no points for results. Andy had a 2-0 Borough win, Bergzorg and Azaz, so I guess there's another bonus point. Matt had a 2-1 Borough win. Gassama, Bergzog, and Azaz. I had a 2-1 Borough win. I had Bergzog and Hackney as Borough goal scorers, but I had Windass down as a Wednesday goal scorer. Stuart gone for a 1-1 draw with Masaba and Azaz to score. So had Josh Windass not popped up in the second half, he would have been on for quite a lot of points there. So just has to settle for the 2 points. So Easter Monday is almost done and dusted. But all that was left with is the one game. He's been sitting there patient. He's had to sit through 4 games to get to this point. But Tottenham Hotspur were in action on what has now gone back to being slightly better Monday. Well, Tottenham Hotspur versus Nottingham Forest. Now, do we want to take a small break before we let Matt loose on the details of this particular game?
I might as well take a break and then come back to it. I think.
I like it. A little bit of foreshadowing. I think he might want to discuss this one quite. So yes, we will take a break. We'll step away very shortly, and we'll be right back with you. But again, you won't need to do anything. It'll just pop back straight up in your feed. So bear with. And just like that, it's back. So you didn't have to do anything. So when we left, there was just the one game left from Easter Monday to cover, and it was the 8 p.m. live Sky Telebox game, which saw Tottenham Hotspur fresh off the back of their Europa League exploits against Eintracht Frankfurt, which saved Ange's job taking on Nottingham Forest. Based on league form, he doesn't really want to keep his job, does old Ange, does he?
He does not give a shit about keeping his job, does he?
He really doesn't.
I think I think they made 5 changes for Forest, and I mean, obviously, didn't make much of a difference. So yeah, apparently, listening to it, Forest flew out the traps early on. I think they really pressurised them and thought, right, we're going to try and take advantage, and put them back in their box a little bit. And then, so first up, Elliot Anderson got a goal on the board nice and early, kind of 3 minutes, and I want to say, it was kind of pretty early on anyway. Pinged around in the box, came out to him, hit it, give it a good whack, deflected off one of the Spurs defender's leg and kind of did that, hit the ground and then looped up a bit. The keeper looked like he got his hands to it, but didn't. So 1-0 Forest. Really quickly after that, Wood got another one, or so we thought, but apparently his shoulder and part of his head were offside, which kind of, moving further on is still the enigma that is the offside kind of thing. It's like, obviously the old kind of thing was, find yourself a woman who can explain the offside rule. I mean, find a person in this world who can explain the offside rule and marry them, because God knows what they might be, or who they might be, or where they're from. Because if they understand it, then please can they go and tell the powers that be what the rules are? Because I don't think they know. I don't know how one of the easiest things on the planet that we could probably understand when we were kids now is the most complicated thing in the planet, because it's like, well, if it's your left toenail, then that doesn't count. But if it's your right toenail, that does count. And, if you're holding your pinky out like you're drinking a cup of tea, that doesn't count because you're drinking a cup of tea. But, if it's your, it's just ridiculous. So, yeah, that one was chalked off, but not to be outdone. Wood popped up. Really nice cross from Elanga, who caused a load of trouble for Spurs through the first half. But yeah, he just beat the goalkeeper to the ball, flicked it into the back of the net. 2-0 Forest. And then Forest did what they do all the time. That it's like kind of they just can't make things easy. We've had a few years of kind of heart attacks, and moving into, we should be relaxed, and Champions League or not, who cares? But now it's kind of there. You're kind of like, please, can we just do it nicely? And just put Spurs to bed. No. Nuno decides to take Elanga off at half time. No evidence of him being injured, just that was what he decided to do. And Forest decided to shut up shop, which roughly translates into allowing Spurs to attack. So then most of the second half was Spurs on the attack. They're pretty toothless though, but on reflection, I should have thought last week when I did my predictions, Richarlison does like to score against Forest, and he gave him a bit of a runaround in the second half apparently. So he had one really good header that Toffolo cleared off the line, and if you've not seen that, it really is worth seeing because it's an absolute cracking clearance off the line. That
I've seen that, and it was very good.
particularly for a guy who's hardly played this year, kind of been kind of stuck in the background, but is apparently a really, really good guy. Really kind of community-based player, loves kind of doing loads of stuff around the ground, has kind of set up like a monthly mental health thing that he works with. I think goes to like some of the time, obviously all to do with his kind of gambling charge that he had. He seems to have gone and been proactive as opposed to going to Dubai to get more money to gamble, should I say? Allegedly.
Shots fired.
But just to make just going back to the making people nervous, of course, Forest did eventually let in a header from Richarlison. That decent header. Nothing much that Sal's could do about it, but Forest decided to kind of really kind of put the fans through the ringer, but did get a 2-1 win, which completes the season double over Spurs, which I don't think we've done in a really, really long time. I certainly can't remember us beating Spurs twice. I can't remember us beating Spurs, to be honest. But yeah, 2-1 win, up to third for a few days until Man City played Villa, I think, and now we're down to fourth again. So it's all very tight up there. Hopefully that kind of that Man City wins kind of put Villa to bed a little bit, but I don't know.
Well, let me just get the current league standings for you. Obviously, that's technically Man City. Well, it's not even technically Man City's game now. That is just their next game.
Yeah.
So obviously they've now played 34. So Forest have the game in hand, which is against Brentford next
Thursday,
which obviously we will do predictions for next week. Spoiler alert, we're recording this on the same night that Arsenal have just drawn 2-2 with Crystal Palace, which basically all but hands the league to Liverpool. Ugh. So just to clarify,
should we rip that plaster off now whilst we're talking about
Well, let's be honest. The last time that something like this happened, where Liverpool won the league and Leeds won the league, I'm pretty sure the world shut down.
Yeah, very true.
Can we not have that again, please?
Yeah, but at least last time when the world did shut down, had the decency to mean that they all had to stay in their fucking house and not talk about it to the outside world. Didn't they just spend the next 50 to 55 years doing that, surely?
No, that's what they were supposed to do. They still went out and did it anyway, because groats. So, let's be honest. But yeah, so going back to the league. So City third, 60. I mean, like, honestly, Arsenal keep drawing so many games. They might not even finish second at this rate. So they're second on 67, City third on 61, Forest fourth on 60. So if Forest beat Brentford, they're only 4 points off Arsenal with 4 games to play. So Arsenal finishing in the top 4. Well, Arsenal finishing in the top 5 is probably going to happen. Yeah. Arsenal finishing in the top 4 could be in jeopardy at this point if they keep dropping points.
If they get
So you
too
got Forest
distracted
on
by the
16.
Champions League, if they get distracted by the Champions League, which I think they are, which is
Yeah. You got Newcastle on 59, Chelsea on 57, Villa on 57, but they've played a game more. So yeah, you'd have thought that so Villa can only get to what's that? 69? So Arsenal only need one more point and then Villa can't catch them. No, so one more win, sorry, and Villa can't catch them. It's gonna go to the last game of the season, let's be honest. And Forest just need to keep get the next game out of the way. Just focus one game at a time, get the next game out of the way, and then just refocus all their energy on the next game. As stupid as that sounds and as base as that sounds. But yeah, you'd like to think at this point of the season they can do it. But jumping back to the game from a predictions perspective, Stu was the furthest away potentially. Had gone for a 1-1 draw with a Solanke goal for Spurs and a Wood goal for Forest, so gets himself a point. Matt was 2-2, so I suppose you were both a goal away either side. Matt had Johnson and Maddison to score for Spurs, Wood and Elanga to score for Forest, so bags himself a bonus point there. Andy had gone for a 3-0 Forest win, so bags himself a point for the result. He had Elanga and 2 for Wood, so had that first strike not been ruled off, he'd have had 2 bonus points. Sadly, he's just the one to go with his 1 point for his result. That gives him 2. I went for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. Big pat on the back for me there. I also had Johnson to score. And then I had Gibbs White and Wood. So I bagged myself an even bigger bonus point there. So 3 points for me, 2 points for Andy, a point apiece for Stu and Matt, which means at the end of our mammoth 5-game week, Stu had 6 points from the 5 games. Very respectable. Matt and Andy both had 7 points from the 5 games. But due to my bookending correct scores or like big point scoring, I got 9 points from those 5 games. So I win the week, as it were. So we're very much getting to the business end of the season across the board. More so in the Championship than the Premier League, because obviously there's still 4 or 5 games to go for most of the teams there. So, as Stu said earlier, we go into the last 2 games of the season with Hull needing 3 points to guarantee safety. And what better place to get it than at the MKM Stadium against one of their direct rivals, Derby County. Obviously, it is Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. And this is your last outing of the season, I believe, because I'm assuming you're not going to be trekking all the way down to Portsmouth.
No, although it was announced just ahead of the recording that the away tickets for the trip to Portsmouth have indeed sold out. That may be have been aided by the fact that the chairman is doing free travel for anybody that bought a ticket as well. So good gesture by the club, and that is going to be a really long day. I'm obviously for my own.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
I really want it to be put to bed at the Derby game. I can't. If it's not put to bed this weekend, I would not want to be on that bus all the way down there. But then, more importantly, if the worst happens, all the way back.
Yeah. What's worse as well? All the last day games kick off at 12:30, so that is going to be an early start for those Hull fans. Ugh. Yeah, just get it done at home against Derby, please. We don't have to worry about all that. So it's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He'll give his prediction last. He's not on the podcast this week, but
also, Paul, I have to say, if you're going to let Andy go first, you have to go second because Matt will also be at the game.
Ooh, well. Update from the podcast. Lovely stuff. So I will give you Mr. Cook's result first. Then I will give you my result first, as they are both written in the book. So that couldn't have worked any better. So Andy has gone for a 1-0 Hull win. And because he's refreshed, having not played on Easter Monday, he has gone for a Matt Crooks goal.
He's risen.
Do you know what? I don't mind it. He's probably got a point to prove, having got himself 2 yellow cards in very quick succession. So wouldn't be surprised if Crooksy does come back with something big there. I'm in agreement. I've also gone for a win. I've gone for a 2-1. I think it might be a cagey game. I think there's a possibility they could go 2-0 up, but then let one in, nervy last 5 minutes sort of scenario and stuff like that. So I've gone for Gelhardt and Palmer to score for Hull. Not old boy rule for Hull, but old boy rule for the podcast. So I've gone for Matt Clark to score for Derby. Probably an header from a set piece or something like that. So they'll both be in attendance. So let's go to the non-Hull fan first. Matt, what have you got down for Hull versus Derby? This is your chance to do a Leeds from like an Andy perspective and give me like a 12-0 or something like that.
No. I've gone for a 2-1 Hull win, though.
Lovely stuff.
I've gone for Gelhardt and Pedro for Hull, and Yates for Derby, because I think I've predicted him every time. Like, he's been against one of our teams for the whole time we've been doing the podcast, and I feel like I've got to keep things going.
Absolutely. So all that's left to do is for the main man himself to give us his thoughts and what he thinks might happen. Is he going to go for a clean sweep of home wins, or is he going to be shitting himself come the last game of the season?
I really, 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 really wish that it was already done by now, because I feel so much better about it. However, we have a history of really struggling to cross the line when things are really getting important, and particularly at home. If it was away, weirdly, or with no fans, because that season Hull also won a league title in League One that year. However, we are at home. There will be fans. It's going to be awful, and I'm already a little bit sicky thinking about it. So I'm gonna go with the standard struggle of a 0-0 draw.
Oh no!
Because
God,
it would fit perfectly as well. The game that like Matt's through for, but like it'd just be like, oh. But if we can scrape a draw, that well, as Paul mentioned before, Luton play Coventry earlier in the day. You would suspect that Coventry are at home. They'll be looking to tie that one up nicely. I would like to think Coventry have enough in them to beat Luton.
Well, just to clarify that, it's Luton that's at home.
Oh, is it Luton that's at home? Okay. Well, either way, I'd still like to think Coventry have enough to beat them. Plus, as well, like, they'll be able to call into somebody's back garden for a cup of tea on the way out, won't they? If that happens, Luton would stay on 46. Derby would move up to 47 with a point, but more importantly, Hull would be on 49. Our goal difference, both Hull and Derby, is currently -9, whereas Luton's -23. So a draw would pretty much unofficially do it, but I can see it being a full 90 minutes of huffing and puffing and even possibly some effing and jeffing.
The only thing that I would say that scuppers you in that regard is obviously the fact that, like you said, that game will have already taken place. So Hull and Derby will both know, to a certain extent, what they need. And just to put more of a spanner in the works, I kind of need Luton to win that game from my own perspective. Borough do go into their own game, which we will be covering next. So I'll start us off. So our next game that we're going to be covering is Middlesbrough versus Norwich. Now, Borough go into this one, regardless of the result that happens at 12:30, they know that if they win against Norwich, regardless of the result that happens in the Luton Coventry game, it will go to the last game of the season. All they ever needed to do was keep Coventry within 3 points of them, which, if they both win, that will be the case. And then, obviously, it will be winner takes the last spot come the final day of the season.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Why is it always Middlesbrough and Coventry?
So, this is a question I've been asking myself, because this is the second season out of the last 3 where the last game of the season is Borough versus Coventry. Obviously, 2 seasons ago, we had the scenario where they finished 4th and 5th, played each other last game of the season, then played each other 2 times in a row for the playoffs, and then it was the second game of the following season. So they played each other 4 times in the space of 5 fucking games, and Middlesbrough scored once in all those 4 games. Yeah, it just seems to be one of those quirks of the fixture list that just sort of throws up Borough versus Coventry. So ideal scenario is that Luton beat Coventry, Hull beat Derby, and Borough beat Norwich, and then Borough jump into the playoffs and know that a draw is good enough on the last day of the season. Luton can just fuck off and just lose their last game of the season and probably still go down. And take Derby with them, maybe. Nice scenario for everybody there.
I think it's 1 from 3 the way that it's sat, and I think unfortunately currently one of them is Hull.
Yeah.
I think Cardiff. Well, obviously Cardiff and Plymouth are still on 43 points currently.
They need a bit of they need a minor miracle.
Yeah, but then
to get out of it.
Luton and Derby being on the same points and us only 2 points more, for Derby and Luton to go down, Cardiff have to really win probably both of the remaining games.
Yeah,
and I can't really see that happening.
I suppose one thing that also plays into Hull's sort of like perspective is the fact that Oxford are a point above them but have a much worse goal difference. So even a point there, if Oxford lose, that puts them up a point. That puts them up a place.
Yeah. I know that, like, obviously the main point is I'd like Hull to stay up. I'd like Luton to just go down just purely for that spectacular fall from grace.
It'd be good, wouldn't it? So obviously they did the non-league to the Premier League. It'd be quite funny if they now do the opposite.
Yeah.
Go the complete opposite. But yeah, so it's gonna be tight at the bottom. And equally, it's like now that the automatic promotions like sewn up with Leeds and Burnley going up after the events of Monday, it kind of shifts the focus to those like Bristol City, Coventry, Borough, Millwall playoff chasing spots. So I think at this point everyone's just forgotten that Sunderland are even there since they've been 4th what feels like about 8 years. And they're in horrendous form. So yes, it will be interesting, shall we say the least. So we'll focus on the next game, which obviously, as we said, is Middlesbrough versus Norwich. Like I said at the top, simple. It's simple maths for Borough now. Don't worry about the results anywhere else. Win your last 2 games, you're in the playoffs. It's as simple as that. Unless Coventry beat Luton by a lot of goals, Borough will have the superior goal difference over Coventry. So shouldn't matter. Win your last 2, jobs are good, and you're in the playoffs. Well, you'll probably get beaten over 2 legs by Sheffield United anyway, so it won't matter. So it's my team.
Oh, but so then you'd be playing Wilder.
Exactly.
Oh, this has got a bit of added.
Well, it's a case of they're either going to be playing Wilder, or if they can get as high up as 5th, 2-legged playoff against Sunderland. Tasty. Or the potential for a playoff final against Sunderland. Tasty. So it is my team. I'll give my prediction last. Again, I've got Andy's prediction right here, ready round to go, so I'll go in with that. Andy's gone for a 2-0 Borough win with a goal apiece for Bergzorg and Azaz. Obviously, riding that Azaz hot streak, 2 in his last 2. Stu, what have you got down for Borough versus Norwich?
Norwich on their jollies, now to play for all round. I've got Conway to score to make amends for his penalty screw up. So 1-0 to the Borough.
I did feel a bit sorry for him, like at the end of the Wednesday game, because he was just on the pitch like with his head in his hands, and he just looked crestfallen. The poor lad, because obviously he'd missed the penalty, and then he'd smashed that one against the bar from 12 yards out. So like, Christ Almighty, what have I got to do? Matt, what have you got down for Borough versus Norwich?
I've gone for a 2-1 Borough win, taking on the footballing genius that is Jack Wilshere.
Oh.
So I've gone Conway and Azaz to score and Sargent for Norwich.
Lovely jubbly. Yes. So it might just be the eternal optimist in me, but I too have gone for a Borough win. Like you say, Norwich, you've got nothing to play for. At one point, it looked like this could be a playoff sort of decider as well. And then they just absolutely shat the bed and have just fallen off the face of a cliff the last couple of weeks. As discussed, it has cost the manager his job. So the tactical wizard that is Jack Wilshere has been put in charge for the final 2 games of the season. Don't get it. I've never understood the Jack Wilshere hype. Obviously, watching mastermind a 7-0 away win now and make me look like an absolute gubbin. But I've gone for a 3-1 Borough win. Goal apiece for Conway, Azaz, and Fours. And I've also gone for a Sargent goal for Norwich. Like I said, nice and simple. Win against Coventry, which I haven't done for what seems like my entire lifetime. And then we'll see what happens with the playoff games. And our final game of the season, final game of the week, even, takes us to Sunday and takes us to Wembley Stadium, where the FA Cup semi-final between Nottingham Forest and Manchester City. Forest going to this on the back of 4 rounds worth of penalty shootout wins. Is that right?
Yeah, round 4, round 5. Yeah.
4 great penalty shootout wins. You couldn't make it up. Obviously, it's Matt's team, so he will go last. You're not back to back, you know. You're not Hull on Saturday, London on Sunday, are you?
Sadly not. No. Try as I might, and to get tickets. So they surprisingly got to the 7th round of the tickets being released. So like I think their initial allocation was sold out by the 6th level, which was membership plus, and then they got another 807 released. And that went to like people with a membership like myself. They got snapped up quickly. I was told off by a bloke because I was trying to buy tickets on the phone whilst we were trying to take Sebi swimming. So I was in the changing rooms with my phone out trying to get, you need to put your phone away. And I'm like, trying to get fucking tickets, dick.
Could really work around your pass, though, does it? When was the last time your team got to a cup fight?
Oh no! It would have been fine if what had happened previously hadn't already happened. And then another 1,000 went on sale today, but no shakes, unfortunately. I mean, I think there was one stage today where I had a ticket in my basket for 150 quid, but I couldn't get one for my dad as well, and I don't think I could have gone without my dad. I think that would have been bad times.
Very noble, noble of you. Sadly, I don't have that problem, as my dad would not be asked about going to see a hurricane. So,
to be fair, Forest sent
he'd
through.
probably give you the 150 quid not to go. To be fair.
To be fair, the Forest sent through the hospitality for 700 quid. To which my dad said, not for the semi-final, but when we make the final, we'll spring the 700 quid for for the hospitality.
So
I
you
had
you
to get.
heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Moore, senior, springing for the box for the FA Cup final.
Not even a box. It's not even a box, mate. It's like
Right. So Forest City semi-final. Matt's team. He will give his prediction last. Andy has gone for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. He's gone for Wood and Ilanga to score for Forest and Bernardo Silva to score for City. I've gone for a 2-2 draw, and I've gone for City to win on penalties. I just get the feeling that at some point the luck's going to run out with these like winning by penalties and stuff like that. And I just think this could be like one game too far for him, to be honest with you. I've gone for Gibbs, White and Alanga, and then Savinho and Marmouche to score for City. Stu?
I, on the other hand, have been predicting the FA Cup games for Forest to be draws and with penalty wins. So it's worked so far. So I have gone that route again. I feel a bit bad in the sense of Man City have just hit form at the moment as well. So I could probably have done without that, but I've gone for 1-1. So I've got De Bruyne for City, Wood for Forest, and then Forest to win on pens.
Okie dokie. I have made a note of that P in brackets next to the left-hand side. Go on then, Matt. You obviously won't be able to watch it in person, but I'm assuming you'll be watching on either BBC or ITV, whichever channel it's fallen on.
Yeah. Did you also know that? But it shows like the contempt shown for the FA Cup now. That at the same time as the Forest game is on in the FA Cup semi-final, Liverpool Spuds is on Sky Sports. I mean,
Jog on.
I know that
One.
the Villa Crystal Palace one is on at like quote is on there's no game at the same time. But yeah, for some reason, exactly the same. 4:30 Sunday, Forest and Man City are on, and then Liverpool Spuds as well. And of course, everyone's going to be absolutely. I won't add onto the description of there, but you can insert what you want in there because Liverpool are probably going to win the league at that point. So it'll just be thingy. So after that rant, I agree with what Stu said there. I think Man City annoyingly have rounded into form just at the right time. Everything it seems to be the tweaks that Guardiola wants to make are starting to work. They're hitting good form in the league. They're hitting good form in the cup, and I just think Forest. I've kind of started. I said it last week. I'll say it again. There seems to be a lot of fumes. Would be the word. They should have invested in the squad at Christmas. I feel, but I've gone for a 3-1 Man City win. I just feel there's going to be a kind of element of been there, done that. It's the last hurrah for this kind of like group of players. You know, De Bruyne being confirmed to go. So I've got Elanga scoring for Forest because I think he can. I think he will cause their defence trouble. But then I've got Marmouche to score because he's the one that Forest almost signed in the summer. O'Reilly and McAtee because McAtee is one of those ones that Forest are apparently always kind of sniffing around as well.
I don't know if you saw the game last night with Villa. He almost scored one of those ones where the keeper's in absolute no man's land trying to close it down. He almost clipped it over him, and it just dropped wide of the post. And it was one of those. It was one of those ones where if it goes in, you could see like it panned around to Guardiola. He was like, oh, but it dropped wide. And it's just one of those ones. If it had gone in, like they're in like pants being thrown up left, right, and centre and stuff like that.
No celebration will be better for me this season than when Rangers scored against Celtic and the guy squirted the front row with a water bottle. Like, that was quality, and I know he got in masses of trouble for it, and I know there's the other connotations with it being Rangers Celtic, but Jesus Christ, that was hilarious. In any other context, that would have been brilliant.
But it just shows. I think this is the thing that annoys you, kind of thing. You know, he squirted the front row with some water. It's a bit of fun. Like he could have done a hell of a lot worse. We've seen a hell of a lot worse.
Mm.
But of course, because those have been butthurt because the Celtic fans are used to winning all the time. Oh, I'm going to make a complaint and press charges and stuff like that. I get over yourself. Because no doubt you called that bloke God knows what for 90 minutes and he's turned around and squirted you with some water and it's probably what you deserved because you.
I think what gets me about it every time is every time I've seen it since, I think that it's like the Celtic manager on the sidelines looking really annoyed, and you just see the Rangers player run behind him going, it's perfect. It's so good.
So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 4 predictions for each of those games done and dusted. I'll just say, for Matt's sake, I hope Mr. Cook is the correct one out of the 4 of us on that particular result. And like we said, it is, I don't know which game's on which channel. Have BBC got this one or have ITV got this game?
No, I've not even checked yet.
Yeah. Well, regardless, it'll be available on a terrestrial channel, so everyone will be able to tune in and watch it. So fingers crossed for a Forest win, and another one of our teams making an FA Cup final within our lifetime. Forest have already made a cup final in your lifetime. Well, and in our lifetime, because it was what, 91. So
yeah.
Fingers crossed they get back.
I was at that semi-final. So.
Oh, well, there you go. So, there you have it. Done and dusted for the week. Thank you, as always, to the 2 gentlemen that you see on your screen that have joined me this week to go through the details of their team. Join us next week where we'll go through those 3 games. Myself and Mr. Woodmansey will be garnering up for the final week of the season. And obviously, Forest will have games to predict as well. So, if you're new around here, if this is the first time you're listening to or watching the podcast, first of all, thank you very much. Very much appreciated that you've joined us. If you've liked what you've heard, there's loads more for you to be diving into. The guys over at the Straight to the Apex podcast bring you Formula One news pretty much every week, or at least with in line with every race of the season. Very much worth looking forward to. If wrestling is in your wheelhouse, certainly is for us lot. We've just had WrestleMania this past weekend. So within the next couple of weeks, I dare say there'll be a podcast incoming to go through the details of that particular shenanigans, where we discuss the predictions we made, who'll win the predictions title, and we look forward to the next premium live event. And he's not here, but Mr. Cook is the leader of the Cookiecast podcast network, and he has his Darkest Timeline podcast where he goes through all the things that are going on in his head. Well worth a listen. So that's us for this week. Join us again next week. Like I said, we'll go through the results. We'll look forward to predictions. And we'll see you again in a week's time. Until then, take care of yourselves, keep an eye out for each other, and we'll see you in 7 days' time. Tatty bye for now.
So there you go, where things out. Another one done, another one gone, another week of games in the bag, another week of games to look forward to. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.